See no evidence of 3 or more deputies engaging in a criminal activity with a unifying symbol whose primary purpose is to commit crime.
Gangs of deputies inside the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department.
Sheriff's deputy gang that has branded its members the Executioners.
To crack down on deputies who are members of cliques or gangs inside the Sheriff's Department.
See no evidence of 3 or more deputies engaging in a criminal activity with a unifying symbol whose primary purpose is to commit crime.
How do they identify themselves?
With a tattoo.
They terrorize the community and then they cover their tracks. It is unacceptable.
Is the Compton Sheriff Station being run by the Executioners, a gang of rogue deputies with matching tattoos?
And I rolled the window down and I asked why was I being pulled over. Within seconds, almost 7 to 9 sheriff's deputy vehicles descended upon the scene. They ordered me out of my vehicle and they asked me to put my hands on top of the police vehicle so they can search me as if I were a criminal. Mind you, I was accompanied by my husband and my infant daughter in the back seat. I do not look like someone that is trafficking drugs. I was in my family vehicle.
It's unacceptable. We will send a clear message to the LA County Sheriff's Department that you clean your house, you get your house in order, or we will surely help you do that. You have executioners, you have gangs in your own house.
Their alleged tattoo depicts a skeleton in flames, an AK-47, and a Nazi-style helmet.
The executioners brokered a deal to amp up arrest numbers. Members of the public were stopped for minor infractions. According to the Loyola study, sheriffs over the last 5 decades have been unable or unwilling to dismantle the deputy gangs.
See no evidence of 3 or more deputies engaging in a criminal activity with a unifying symbol whose primary purpose is to commit crime.
Compton, a flashpoint for high-profile crimes. Recently, the armored SUV of rapper YG in the middle of a shootout. And an 18-year-old security guard, Andres Guardado, chased by 2 Compton deputies, shot 5 times in the back. Evidence of the secret deputy pack emerged in the wrongful death shooting case of Dante Taylor. Compton deputy Samuel Aldama forced to reveal his tattoo, saying that about 20 deputies at the Compton station have the same ink.
There's been multiple occasions where they say, hey, we got a guy that has a gun and he's running from us. In reality, that person never had a gun. And they would say, oh, it was a phantom gun. It was something that really wasn't there.
Is there an initiation process to join the gang?
You could say that. They could go from you getting a shooting or, you know, they do anything for these guys.
You said they get shootings. What do you mean by that?
If you get in a shooting, that's a definite brownie point.
Well, Anthony Vargas was coming home from a prayer group and a party in his housing project when he was approached by the deputies. Now, there was a robbery nearby. However, the victim of the robbery had described the suspects as 3 male Hispanics between 35 and 40 years old. Anthony Vargas was only 21 years old, and the victim later, when he was shown an array of photos, did not identify Anthony Vargas. Also, there was no DNA or fingerprints on the weapon that the deputies allege that Anthony Vargas had on him. And his case is only one, or his murder is only one of several young Latinos who have died in the hands of alleged deputy gang members.
Justice for me is a whole long list, because not only is it these officers being held accountable for homicide, for a murder, it's everybody else involved. I want the whole system cleaned out.
A federal grand jury investigation has been convened. Sheriff Villanueva declined to comment. An investigation by the former district attorney's office claims that the deputies, and I quote here, acted in lawful self-defense and defense of others when they used deadly force against Anthony Vargas. Deputies Rojas and Perez deny being members of the Prospects or Bandidos.
Well, first of all, there is no gang of any deputies running any station right now. This matter has already been receiving very swift administrative action. We've already taken positive steps.
We are holding our employees accountable to the rule of law, and I will not tolerate any group of employees who mistreats any member of the community.
The ACLU of Southern California has said your department is the only one of 400 in the state that flat out denies requests for records that are authorized under state law, that's SB 1421, relating to unlawful use of force, sexual misconduct, or dishonesty by deputies. And that is evidence you are not being transparent in how you run your department.
Absolutely not. What we do is we don't have the physical capacity to just turn over all the records to people who want them. We have to go through the legal process. We have to do redactions. We need the assistance of county counsel. We need the redaction software. We've asked 3 separate times to the Board of Supervisors, give us the money so we can have the redaction software so we can facilitate the process of providing all these things for SB 1421. We've been stonewalled from the very beginning. If you go to our website, LASD.org, you can see all of the documents that we're pushing out online. And I said since the very beginning, if it's legal, there's not a restriction. We want to release everything public to everybody, and we're not going to stop.
Let's start with their criticism or concern about your rehiring of Karen Carl Mendoyan, who had been dismissed because of sexual abuse allegations that had been affirmed by the Civil Service Commission. You say that it was a wrongful termination. Did you have to do it your first week in office or your first action? I mean, it seems to me part of the concern is that it was, to your degree, it was a rush to judgment.
Actually, it wasn't a rush to judgment at all. This case was vetted very thoroughly from the very beginning, and we have about half a dozen of these cases that are probably the worst case scenarios that were just rammed through the system without due process, without respect for the standards of evidence. For example, preponderance evidence is a standard for civil service procedure, but the old phrase is garbage in, garbage out. So you can't rely on the output if you're turning garbage into the system, and that's what happened here.
So she didn't grab her by the neck, try to break her into her home, harassing text messages, that kind of stuff didn't happen?
We had to do, again, a close vetting of the entire file with the evidence, and we matched the evidence that we had, and it did not sustain the outcome that was presented to the Civil Service Commission.
And the fact that he worked on your campaign for sheriff, it didn't have any influence on this?
No. The point is that we cannot show the entire case because there's a confidentiality issue. All we can say is that the standards were not met, the evidence was not there to support the termination, and one of the difficulties when you have allegations is you have an obligation to due process, to the rule of law, and you have to find the evidence to support the allegation. Until you find the evidence that supports the allegation, you can't make the allegation a fact, because then it's a miscarriage of justice. See no evidence of 3 or more deputies engaging in a criminal activity with a unifying symbol whose primary purpose is to commit crime.
Personally, I don't care what name you call it by, gangs, cliques, orders, organizations. Those type of people in law enforcement will always and has always existed. Yes, the criminal has always worn the badge, and they use that badge to deprive, intimidate, harass, and kill at will. Now that your eyes are open, hopefully you start looking on your local level and understanding that it starts with your city, state, and county. These departments right there are the ones with the cliques, the gangs, the organizations, and the orders. I don't know about you folks, but for the black man, seeing the image of a cop has always screamed terrorist. And it's funny, now that we're in 2021, 4/5 of the American people sees that same image and screams terrorism. You decide. Until the next one. Much love, blessings, peace, always respect.